Welcome to Real Estate Radio Live, an informative and engaging podcast discussing everything you need to know about the world of real estate. Your host, Joe Caccera, provides you with insight and guidance on how to buy, sell, finance, and invest in real estate. He also offers real estate tax management strategies, new construction advice, home improvement tips, and much, much more. And now, to guide you around the world of real estate, here's your host and Real Estate Radio Live team leader, Joe Caccera.
Welcome in, Joe Caccera with Real Estate Radio Live. Thank you all. For those that are following us on the live feed on Facebook, we appreciate it very much. We want to continue to grow that segment. Obviously, our objective, our goals are to get more and more information out to the consumer. The show is about education and information. That's what we're passionate about. We focus on. And the idea is we have great guests like today, content, information really to pass on to you, the consumer, to help you make wise decisions in and around your real estate, what it may be, all those different aspects. Before we get started, just a couple reminders. We try to stay on a schedule of Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, right around 3 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. The reason why is hopefully we get people that follow the show, and then we do this a live feed on Facebook, and of course it becomes the podcast, so we want you to download the podcast. For those that haven't had the privilege of doing that, please do us a favor. Go to iTunes, just type in Real Estate Radio Live, or you can go to our website, RE Radio Live, and get the podcast, any of those places. Love to have you download that. That way you can follow the show, listen to it at your convenience. Lastly, before, if you need to reach me during the week, same place, RE Radio Live, or you could always email joe@reradiolive.com. All right, let me introduce my guest. She's a regular now. I could call you a regular on Dana.
I know. I think so. 3 times.
Yeah. Dana Dunford. She is the CEO with Hemlane, and welcome her back. It's been, this is the third time. We can continue to have you on. Not only is you're a great speaker, good to have you on the show, but you do a great job at articulating not only your message, your model, what you guys are up to, but just in general, the evolution of technology, what's happening in the real estate space, and you're right in the middle of that. So welcome back.
Great. Thanks.
Good to
Thanks
have
for
you.
having me.
Before we jump into a number of different things we want to discuss today, I want you to give our listeners, if you would, again, a little bit about your background and then your roles and responsibilities at Hemlane.
Yeah. Thanks, Joe.
You're welcome.
So my name's Dana Dunford, and I run the business side for Hemlane. We are a technology-enabled property management platform. We work with real estate investors, so anyone who owns a rental property from 1 to 100 rental units. We work with property managers, and we also work with real estate agents. And we do the technology behind the day-to-day management, as well as the leasing. And then we connect owners with real estate agents and property managers to help them with the local expertise.
Perfect. So if you could break it down for us, Dana. I mean, in years past, right, traditionally, someone owns a property, whether it's 1 or 100 properties. In many cases now, people own properties all over the United States. I remember, it's so funny, several years ago, there was this, I'm not sure if I want to invest across in different countries or different states, I should say. Now it's really widespread. So in those days, let's say before you had a platform or technology like you guys offer, people would have to struggle to try to figure out, local area, who's the best property manager, what happens if there's a plumbing problem, what happens, all kinds of different things. Anybody that rents or landlords or owns properties, you know what I'm talking about. I have a few myself, but not at the extent of hundreds. So that's the way it used to be. So talk a little bit about how your platform and your technology has enabled people to better manage those properties from those different aspects.
Yes, absolutely. Location has never been less important than it is now. 10 years ago, you would be hesitant to purchase a property out of state or somewhere else. Now, people do not even blink. Part of that is thanks to technology, but also part of it has to do with opportunities and the customer and real estate investor understanding that they can actually make an investment that provides them a better return on investment than they could potentially in their backyard. So with Hemlane, we really promote saying you're not going to be working with 10 different companies and have to roll up 10 different P&L statements every single month. It's all consolidated into one, and then you can add your property managers or your local support directly to it. We rely on our local property managers and our local agents to help provide that expertise and knowledge on who are the best plumbers in the area, who are the best electricians, who's the best handyman. But there's also big data on that from the service professionals' perspective. There's great data out there of what are the quality of reviews of service professionals and which ones are licensed, which ones aren't. And so you can really mitigate a lot more of that risk, which 10 years ago you didn't have access to that data as a consumer. And so we're all about educating, providing that, and providing that data, knowledge, and expertise in a way that helps reduce your liability as a real estate investor going out there and looking at rental properties. And it doesn't matter. You could have one property. You could have 100 properties. It's the same process.
Yeah. So you kind of answered my next question. Was that so regardless of a person has one property or someone's managing hundreds, they could benefit from this platform one way or another, because it really is, as we evolve, isn't it, about time and speed, efficiencies, but also cost savings? And you guys have put all that together so that the idea is that we all spend time on what we should be doing, more of what we should be doing instead of stuff that we really don't want to do.
Yeah, and one of the things that I learned actually a little bit too late is that people do things that they're good at. And when you're good at something, you love doing that. And so that's what you excel in your job and in your day-to-day. What you find in property management is you have to be a jack of all trades. If you're a property manager or you're a do-it-yourself landlord doing all of the work, you have to know sales to be able to sell the property. You have to know maintenance because you have to coordinate that and push back on service professionals. You have to know accounting because you need to keep track of the books and the finances, and you also have to become a lawyer because you have to know the legal contracts. Our goal is to say you don't need to know all of that. Whatever you're good at, you can do. If your expertise is financials and you're a financial analyst, great, manage your financials on Hemlane, but use a local licensed realtor who can really sell your property to tenants better than anyone else, or use our maintenance coordination team who knows maintenance coordination better than anyone else.
Good point. We're going to talk about agents a little bit. So real estate agents, we have a pretty big following on this show of real estate agents, people in this industry, Dana. So a lot of real estate agents you and I know, most people know, by default, they get in the property management, right? They start buying and selling real estate or helping people. Next thing you know, hey, do you know what? Well, I could manage it for you. And some people I know got started that way. Some people did it by design. So let's talk about that agent that's out there and maybe they're managing, maybe they're part of a management company, or maybe they have a handful of clients that rely on them to find somewhere. Maybe they do it. I know there's some liability issues. Maybe we could talk a little bit about that or the perception of that, and how does that relationship work with Hemlane and the real estate agents?
Yeah, it's really difficult if you're a real estate agent or you're a broker to say no to your client. They will come to you and say, I purchased a house from you 10 years ago. I'm moving out of it into another house, and I want to keep it as an investment property. Will you manage it for me? The first thing that goes through your mind is, I can't, the liability with that. And the second thing that goes through your mind is, oh no, I might lose this client because they're going to find someone else in real estate that has that expertise. And so it's been a huge struggle for brokerages and individual agents to have that balance. And what you find on the liability side is two things. One, the lease agreements and the contracts. As the agent, if you're signing that on behalf of the owner, you have exposed yourself to liability. And then the second is trust accounts. If you are acting as a property manager, you're collecting that rent into your account and then dispersing it out to the owner or taking a certain percentage of it. In both of those cases, there's huge liability. There's also a lot of regulation.
Right.
And so for Hemlane, what we've been really promoting is you don't need to do that. You can push that liability onto the owners and have them take care of that while you're able to help them with doing what you do best, which is showing the rental property.
Right.
And you'll have your separate contracts and your brokerage agreeing to that to make sure that it's a win-win and you don't lose your client, or, you can't offer them a solution that they like.
Yeah, no, that's great. And we just want to clear that up because it's a really important factor we were just talking about before we came on to do the podcast here, that there's a lot of real estate agents that hesitate because of that. So understanding how it's set up is an important thing to do. And as I say that, if someone's, whether it's a customer, a property manager, or a real estate agent, What's the best place, or how would they best get a hold of you or your company if they want to know more information?
Yes, they can jump onto our website, which is www.hemlane.com, and Hemlane is HEMLANE. Or you can reach out to me at dana@hemlane.com.
Very good. One of the things I always like to talk to you about too, Dana, is that kind of the pulse of the market. I mean, even though you operate this platform, this company that's growing, a lot of people are excited about what you guys are offering. You guys are familiar with a lot of cities where the growth is potentially sometimes, where the activity is, good or bad. Maybe first, if you can, give us a sense of how you see the market from your perspective as you manage these people on the platform or see them come on. How's the market look in general throughout the United States? Are there areas that seem to be really flourishing, growing? Are there areas that seem to be stabilizing, moving the other direction? Give us kind of an idea of that.
Yeah, what's really interesting about the market today is if you're in Silicon Valley here, you think, wow, the market has grown so much in 10 years since 2008 when we obviously had the downturn.
Right.
And in some markets today, they're just getting up to the 2008 level. And so there's this huge misalignment of how people perceive the market based on where they live, because they see what's in their neighborhood and what's in their backyard. And so I divide every single area into two different types of markets. It's cyclical and linear.
Okay.
Cyclical are your typical tier 1 cities. That's San Francisco, New York, LA. They are very affected by what's happening in the economy. When there's a downturn, you are going to see a downturn there. But they tend to be areas that have a lot of appreciation. So property values increase substantially with the growth when the market's going up. On the flip side, you have in tier 3 cities, smaller cities, you have linear markets. They are not as affected, and they tend to be places that are considered cash flow, where you will see that even with the downturn, they might turn down, but really they're pretty stable over time. And it's very important to distinguish between those two. Most real estate investors I know, or people who are looking at rentals, will want cash flow. They'll look in those markets to invest, but they can also go into markets like Boise had the largest growth, and they have a combination of cash flow and appreciation. So you get the benefit of both. And so each real estate investor is different, but you should look at markets that way to determine what you want to do and what your real estate strategy is.
Very good. All right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a quick break as we normally do. Again, for those that are watching on the live feed on Facebook, stick with us. Don't click off it. Don't do anything. We're going to just take a 1-minute break for the reason of for the podcast, and we're going to come back, continue our conversation with Dana Dunford. She's the CEO for Hemlane. We're talking about property management and much, much more. This is Joe Kuchera with Real Estate Radio Live. We'll be back with you in just a minute.
For more information on today's program, visit RERadiolive.com. That's RERadiolive.com.
Getting ready to buy or sell a home in 30, 60, or 90 days? Then check out BundleSelect.com to find out how you could save 20% or more on your entire transaction. Save on real estate, lending, and title. With BundleSelect.com, technology and a personal concierge are at your service to save you time and money. Bundle Select's hand-picked team of experts will compete for your business, so you'll save thousands of dollars by bundling all of these services. BundleSelect.com gives you all the control, including using your own realtor. I'm Joe Kuchera with Real Estate Radio Live, and I have been on the radio educating consumers for years. By bundling services like real estate, lending, and title, you could save tens of thousands of dollars. Act now, and this new model could save you money on your move, lower your interest rate, or cover your closing costs. Visit BundleSelect.com. That's BundleSelect.com.
The estimated minimum savings are based on a comparison with the national average. Individual results may vary, and the estimated savings are not guaranteed. Bundle Select Inc. is a licensed real estate broker. California Bureau of Real Estate Broker license number 004-66902.
Welcome back to Real Estate Radio Live. For more information on today's topic or guests, just visit RERadiolive.com. That's RERadiolive.com. Again, your host for today's edition of Real Estate Radio Live, Joe Kuchera.
Welcome back in. Joe Kuchera with Real Estate Radio Live. We are in studio today with Dana Dunford. She's visiting us. She is the CEO of Hemlane. It's an online platform to manage property. And we're talking about that and a few other things in general. We're going to discuss now a little bit about some property. I know we have a lot of followers, a lot of people that I get emails, calls from time to time on a fairly regular basis. Dana, you know, Joe, I love your show. It's a great show. I want to invest. I know people have invested. I don't know. This area doesn't seem smart to invest. And you're like, yeah, that's probably a good idea for cash flow, right?
Yep.
So the big question is always, where are the opportunities? And so over the years, you know, we've seen the Texas growth and Florida and Nevada and, you know, all these. There's a number of different places, and people have their different formulas. You know, schools, colleges, growth, redevelopment. There's all these different formulas around it. What are you seeing out there, and are there specific areas that indicate to you that there might be some up-and-coming opportunities for investments outside of California?
Yes, so just to begin with, if you are investing outside of California, there is an equation to do for that. You are going to first look at states and see how landlord-friendly they are versus California is very, very tenant-friendly in the sense that if a tenant is not paying you rent, you might have them in there living there for free for months, right?
That's right.
And so a lot of real estate investors will say, where are ones that have incentives aligned with my contract? And then the next part of the equation is to look at, you know, where's the opportunity from a cash flow perspective? Most real estate investors who are in the buy and hold business, so keeping a rental, will look at cash flow. The number one mistake that they've made, and then I'll go into some cities, the number one mistake is looking at those numbers without looking holistically at the property and the area.
Okay.
And what I mean by that is I will have a lot of real estate investors who come to us and say, this property is incredible. I am purchasing it right now. I cannot believe what my return on investment is. Well, they purchase a property for $20,000. They think they're going to be making $850 a month. But what ends up happening is their place gets destroyed. It gets trashed. It's in a really, really bad neighborhood. Yep. And the amount of money they're spending on renovations and upkeep and property management, which in that case you should definitely hire a full-service property manager. In that particular case, the numbers will actually never make sense. And there are some additional costs to that. So you really have to know the neighborhood, and that's where your real estate agent and brokers will really, really know what you're really getting into. As far as areas to invest, what I have found is that typically when I hear about it, it's just right before it becomes huge. Like Indianapolis last year was ginormous. What we've seen is Killeen, Texas, and Arlington, Texas are really big. I've seen in the past 6 months of places to invest. And part of that has to say, how close are they to other cities? What are the industries in them? How long are those industries going to be around? And so typically what I do is, one, look for an area that has Fed, Ed, and Med, so federal government, education, and a hospital, a medical.
That's good. What is that again?
Fed, Ed, and Med. You want that. And then as far as the area specifically to invest in the city, I actually picked this up from a friend, Matthew, actually did the analysis, and he was right about it. You want to go into an area in that city where you think that there's going to be more growth than anywhere else in the city. Okay. Now, think about your competition who's doing that as well. It's all the retailers. Starbucks is doing it. Peet's Coffee is doing it. Whole Foods is doing it. So you want to be smarter than them and get ahead of that and use their data to understand whether or not you should invest there. Okay. So from that perspective, what I mean by that is if there's already a Starbucks next door, probably not going to be a lot of growth. It's a pretty stable, steady area. But if you find a neighborhood where there's a local, cute, small coffee shop, there's a good brunch place, there's a yoga studio, and there's a pet store because everyone has pets because they can't have kids because they're working all the time. It's a great opportunity to go in there, and you can look at Google Maps, find these neighborhoods, and then from there, you'll see more appreciation. You'll also get the cash flow, but you'll see that area over time. In 2 years' time, you're going to see a Whole Foods move in because they're doing a very similar analysis on it. So if you can find those cities that have some stability and then find the right neighborhoods, you can set yourself up for success.
Very good. So what are some of the areas?
The areas in
specifically
cities?
You would say that you're hearing or you're aware of, and full disclosure, I mean, everybody still has to do their due diligence and look into the comparisons and all that, but are you hearing or any potential areas that seem to be up and coming or still people seem to have pretty strong interest in?
Yeah, the biggest are right outside of Atlanta, even close to the airport. That's been a huge place where we've seen even a lot of traffic to Hemlane of new real estate investors going into there. Killeen, Texas has been huge. Arlington, Texas has been really big. Yeah. And so it's been kind of in the south that we've seen a lot of that growth. But you also see it in Cincinnati, Columbus, Ohio, up in that region as well. Here in California, in the Bay Area, you will see, if you want to stay local, you're seeing it spread out to the East Bay. When we look at returns in our platform of who's making the money, a lot of the folks that are out there in the East Bay that have invested in Hayward and Tracy, they have seen substantial growth in both their cash flow as well as their appreciation.
Yeah, another interesting area is Vallejo.
And Vallejo, yep.
I also understand that because of that, I think they're going to have some ferry service down the road. And, that whole shipping area, I mean, there's some interesting things going on there, too, I'm hearing as well. But, yeah, I would say that those in this area, it's tough. But if you're going to have any hope, those areas might be the places to look.
Yes, exactly. And like Joe said, do your own research. Everyone comes up with their own formula for it. But the best thing about that is in 3 years, you can look back and say, did my formula make sense?
Right.
Make some tweaks to it and do another purchase.
The duplication, that's actually the dream, the situation for any business, I think, is whether it's real estate, business, service, products, whatever it is, if you get it to a point where you get a system down where you could duplicate it, right? And do well at it and make income or earn profits or whatever it is. I mean, in this case, real estate, the last thing I'll say on that before we move along is be careful when you see pictures online because anybody could make a house look good, but of course, when you see nothing else around the house but the house, just be real careful with that. And I know it sounds funny, but it's amazing how many people say, oh my gosh, you should see this. And like you mentioned, look at the returns and but they don't see what's around that area and specifically what could be going on. So some big issues. Be sure to do your due diligence. And there's not only, make the best use of technology, but, I know other people, Dana, that just, whether they're busy or not, if they're really, really going to invest in an area, they get on the plane, take a trip, right? That way you could see it for yourself.
Exactly. See it for yourself. We get a lot of research, actually reminds me I need to respond to one of them, of folks who just call us and say, hey, I had a call yesterday from someone in London.
Right.
He said, I'm looking in Hamilton, Ohio. Who do you know? What real estate agents and brokers do you know in that area? I want to do my due diligence and figure out really what are the areas. And so relying on the local expertise, being able to trust that local expertise and getting a couple of opinions, and then also going out to view the area or looking at it on Google Maps and talking to the community will do a lot for you.
Yeah. Well, let's switch gears a little bit before we run out of time. And I always like to have a little conversation back and forth about technology as it relates to real estate. So Bitcoin, blockchain, we talked a little bit about that last time. Is it still in hype mode? There's still promise? Quite frankly, for me, when I look at the whole blockchain concept technology, for me, I could see that. That makes a lot more sense to me than Bitcoin for some reason, even though they both, how do you see them both like right now? And then will they both play a part in this industry? And maybe how long will it take before it becomes almost mainstream?
Yes, I think you're right. The average person will mix up cryptocurrencies, which includes Bitcoin, with blockchain. And actually, these days, people are getting more educated and separating those two because they are really two different things. Now, obviously, blockchain is used as cryptocurrencies to exchange them, but they should not be lumped together as one. Like you, Joe, I am very skeptical that we will be using cryptocurrencies for real estate transactions anytime soon. I have yet to have someone prove me otherwise, and especially in the rental space. I mean, getting tenants to pay online is one thing. Trying to get them to pay with Bitcoin it is, at this point in time, not something that I see happening. Blockchain's an interesting one because it's been part of the hype. And people in IT know a lot better than any of us who aren't on the IT side, is that it's already being used in the bank system.
Mm-hmm.
It's already being used in transactions to help verify who is that person who's transferring the money, and is there any fraud involved in this transaction. And so blockchain, I believe, will sort of become less of a hype because people will start using it. Banking institutions will be using it. Real estate transactions will already have it there. But as the consumer or the person on the end of the transaction, you'll never see it. It's all working on the back end for you, and you won't ever see that. And so I think that is something where we'll see it being used today in the transactions, but it will make the transactions less fraudulent. You'll be able to track fraud better. It will be able to make it where you can close transactions faster. But I don't think it's going to be something where you as the consumer, the end person with the transaction, you're going to see it right in your face.
Right. All right. Before we go, what is your opinion on, I mean, I know as leading a company, you're always trying to think ahead. You know, you got to be careful not to think too far ahead that you don't think about your daily business, right? Because that's a balance. But I do know when you're running a company, you're part of an executive team, or, you know, looking at different things that are, I mean, you're always trying to figure out what is the next step, what is the next thing, what is my competitors doing. What do you see in the next kind of evolution or step in this platform of property management that you're working on? Is it blockchain? Is it just getting bigger? Is it getting more efficient, really doing what you guys are doing now and then getting even better at it? How does that look over the next several years?
Yeah, great question. From the perspective of property management right now, what you see is that 80% of folks who have rental properties are self-managing them.
Okay, so there's a ton of room for growth on that.
A ton of room for growth, and less than 20% are paying online.
Okay.
Most tenants are still paying through check and mail.
Okay.
And so what you'll see in the industry, and then this is the huge shift that is not to us, but just in every industry, is that the consumer is coming first.
Yes.
Amazon has made it very clear that the consumer runs that business and everything is about the consumer. And you see that in every industry. In our industry, the tenant is the consumer. So giving them an incredible experience, making it easier for them to transfer rent. They don't have to put a check in the mail. They don't have to do bill pay. It's just auto pay online with it going directly into the bank account, nothing getting lost. We're going to see a lot of things moving online, as well as because the consumer says, do it for me, and I don't want to do anything, a lot of these real estate investors who are younger are going to say, I don't want to take the maintenance call at 6 p.m. on Sunday. And they're going to look towards a combination of technology and professionals in the industry, agents, maintenance coordinators, to be able to solve those problems for them. And so I see the industry opening up where more people are using professionals combined with technology to get done the business that they used to always complained they had to do, but never had a solution to fix it.
Right. Very good. Well, before we go, one more time, if someone wants to reach you, you or the team, what's the best place to do that? More information about you and your company.
Yes, feel free to reach out online, www.hemlane.com. We're also on all of the social channels, and you can also reach me at dana@hemlane.com.
Very good.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Great job. Thank you, Dana.
Thanks
for being
Joe.
here. This is Joe Kuchera of the Real Estate Radio Live. Thank you again for tuning in today. We appreciate it very much. For more information, always go to RERadiolive.com and please download the podcast. This is Joe Kuchera. We'll be back with you next time. Thank you.
You've been listening to Real Estate Radio Live. For more information on today's program, visit RERadiolive.com. That's RERadiolive.com. Subscribe to our podcast. Discover more at RERadiolive.com.